It's been quite a while since I last talked about Hardcore Leveling Warrior, and it's really a shame, since it's not only a spectacular series, but also a big reason why my channel is where it is now. So I wanted to do something special, but I kind of struggled to talk about something new. I've talked about characters some more than once. I've done theories, explanations, even timelines. So I went back and forth on what I wanted to talk about, from the Giga Corporation as a whole to characters like Yopai, as he recently had an interesting arc. But instead, I wanted to talk about someone else. Someone who's always kind of been part of the story, but never really the main focus. And someone who's recently and very tragically passed away. Now, I love Hardcore Leveling Warrior, but sometimes the biggest problem in a virtual world is stakes. If you can simply respond, then is there any danger to any situation? Hardcore Leveling Warrior has a number of solutions to this problem, whether it be a tournament, or wasting time, or with our main character, a reset to his stats. However, a different way they solve this is with NPCs. NPCs, or non-player characters, are characters that aren't human, but are computer, coding, or AI. They're made to be part of the world of Lucid Adventure. However, to the audience and very few others, Lucid Adventure is more than just a game that you play in your sleep, but it's an actual world with history, culture, tradition, and more. So the NPCs of the world are actual inhabitants of the world, which means they have their own lives, they have their own way of life. But it also means they can perish. Some of our most important characters are NPCs. Heartheater, Lime, Poo, basically all the dragons, gods, and even the demons are NPCs. But that does bring us to demons, and one very important one. While most are basically the enemy, even into this newest season, there is one that has kind of been an ally. Lazie. Lazie has been part of the story since episode 8, and has served an important role ever since. He started out as this strong-looking demon, being the boss fight for Dark's class change into a black wizard. After Ethan does his trademark thing of being too lucky, the gang claims victory, gaining Dark's class change and a new companion. The very tough-looking demon they just laid waste to, now into this adorable form. Look at him, how cute. Lazie continues to serve an important role to the story, being not only a helpful addition to Dark's arsenal, but also a cool character with interesting insights into the world of Lucid Adventure, and also demon culture as a whole. And while his importance varies more than most of our main characters do, he's almost always present. Even during non-combat moments, Lazie feels more and more like a party member than just Dark's spirit servant. And it continues, as Dark continues to rely more and more on him. Even though he's a black wizard or black mage, he relies on his fun ability to somehow merge with Lazie. I don't really understand the full complexities to the move, but the general gist is they kind of become one. While Dark remains in control, Lazie acts like a second mind to him. Not to mention Dark now has access to all of Lazie's moves. And let's talk about that for a second. Lazie is a demon, sure, but more importantly, he's an archfiend. The general gist is that he's incredibly powerful. While he's toned down while he's Dark's servant spirit, so much so that he gains the appearance of a child at the beginning, the Lazie here is the same as he is here. That might sound like an issue to some of you. Not only is the proud Lazie a spirit servant to a human, which most demons consider to be inferior, but we should also talk about that. Demons. Now, one of the many reasons I like Hardcore Leveling Warrior is how they play with our stereotypical ideas of good versus evil. Our main character is a giant jerk. One of our main characters in the game is literally named Dark, who is a black wizard with a demon as a spirit servant. Meanwhile, the big villains of Season 1 are usually dressed in all white, some even having angelic properties to them. Heck, the villain of Season 1's in-game name is Light, and they really love doing this with our main demon boy, Lazie. After his defeat, he's seemingly a standard spirit servant, whatever the bar is for that. He doesn't really seem to be a demon. Due to our standard views of what a demon is, we assume he's pure evil and won't stop being evil no matter what. And while you're not correct, you're also not wrong. I mentioned before the concept of NPCs, but NPCs in the world of Lucid Adventure are more like standard people. They have their own lives to live, and they typically do their own thing. And Lazie was no different. We see that he had his own life beforehand. We see as a child that he developed a unique skill from hunting bears. And we also see his encounter with Zero, another main villain of Season 1. An encounter that doesn't go super well for Lazie. So when forcing an NPC, basically a normal person, to be your spirit servant, probably isn't the coolest thing in hindsight. But Lazie was seemingly fine with it. Even when he gains new and interesting powers, and also gains his standard height, which is far less cute. However, things change with this wand. Now, something important about demon culture, I guess, is horns. Demon horns seemingly possess powers. It's also seemingly shameful to have your horns cut off. At the beginning of the series, Lazie doesn't have his horns, a result from that battle with Zero. And during his spirit servant days, he still doesn't have his horns. Sure, he does gain horns, but they're not his own. But that's where this wand is important, as it's made from the horns of a demon. The demon L.E. Lazie. It's his horns. And we hear from Heartheater that it's probably not the best idea if Lazie gets his hands on it, since his power could far exceed Dark's and take him over. And you know, that's exactly what happens. In a corner with some tough opponents, Dark decides to give Lazie his horns back, causing his powers to fully return, and takes Dark into him? Anyways, Dark asks if their connection was a lie, and he responds with, "Of course it was. The great L.E. Lazie was never meant to serve a loser like you. Consider yourself lucky just to have had the honor of being with me for a while, kid. Ever since that girl beat me, I've been locked up in the Black Magic Tower. Without my powers, I couldn't even fight back against the Black Magic laws. The oath of loyalty I swore to you was fake. I just wanted to use black magic to force my soul and mind together." L.E. Lazie proceeds to demolish the competition, and in a pretty spectacular fashion too. Just as a side note, I know I'm writing this thing about Lazie right now, but this entire tournament arc's action is just so engaging that while writing the script, I actually got distracted for a good 10 minutes. Anyways, once Lazie tries to continue the fight, we see that Dark manages to break free from his bindings, and is beating him up from the inside? Once Lazie enters himself, he tries to get Dark bound up again, but Dark proceeds to beat him up for betraying him. You see, when it comes to having a strong spirit servant, the key comes in mental strength. We hear from the creator of dark magic, Darkest, "The key is to be strong enough not to let your spirit servant take over your mind." To which Dark is strong enough, beating Lazie down, and was tempted to bind them with a stronger magic, but instead forgives him and makes a deal. If they win the tournament, Lazie can go wherever he wants. Eventually, all is said and done. Lazie returns to the demon world, but first teaches Dark how to use his unique ability, kind of, and goes off to solve some problems in the demon world, simply telling Heartheater, "Tell your boss I said thanks." Actually, never mind. Don't bother, Heartheater. I would like to tell him myself when I get to meet him again. Unfortunately, their reunion isn't as happy. After years pass, Nightmare continues to affect the world of Lucid Adventure. Nightmare is a glitch, a bug in the game that contaminates people, the world, and NPCs. And someone it affects is the great L.E. Lazie. And under the effect of Nightmare, Lazie gets himself contaminated. And while Dark tries his best to save him, even going as far as to go into his own soul, and does partially free his soul from Nightmare, it's only enough for them to have one final conversation. You're here, little master. I never imagined to thank you in a place like this. Do you remember, little one, when I tried to take over your body? You beat me up inside my own mind. So I knew you could find your way in here again. Dark. Unfortunately, this is the last chance for us to have a conversation. Unlike the people of another world like you, those who belong to Lucid Adventure can't return from being a nightmare. Dark, my friend, I have one last favor to ask you. For a demon warrior, the most glorious way to die is to die in battle. Dark, you are the king of humans and the greatest black wizard. I want to breathe my last in a battle with you. And what follows is probably one of the most spectacular fight scenes in all of Hardcore Leveling Warrior. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely those that are more action-packed, more engaging, more energetic, but this is the most emotional fight scene of them all. I've never pointed out the art in any Webtoon series, but I have to here. This fight scene is the only one that's mostly in black and white, aside from a few colors to represent magic. In Hardcore Leveling Warrior, when a moment turns black and white, it's supposed to represent intensity. The action can speak for itself. And it's the same here, but very, very slightly different. The intensity of this scene isn't of action, but of emotion. This fight scene is of two friends, loyal to one another, and yet one has to kill the other as a final wish. And we hear in the next episode Lazie's final thoughts. During the time I've been with you, I was able to learn about humans, and that humans whom I had belittled are strong too, and that their strength doesn't come from their power, but from their hearts. My friend, thank you for everything. The future is now in your hands. Lazie was never someone that stuck out during the early episodes. He was a fun spirit servant, and as the series progressed, he became a staple of Dark's team. His banter with Dark or Ethan was always fun and enjoyable. His fight scenes were always mesmerizing, and when he betrayed Dark, I was floored. I hated him for like a chapter. But then he changed. We forgave him. He became even more loyal to Dark. And even to the bitter end, he was an ally and he was a friend. Thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you next week.